Alien CEO secretly shadows struggling human dad. Working double shifts, what she discovers leaves her speechless. HF Weetha. City never slept. Tall buildings shone with neon lights, the streets full of cars, and smoke rose from factories that worked day and night. Among the noise and endless rush, one man walked quietly, his shoulders heavy with tiredness. His name was Daniel, a single father working 2 jobs to care for his little daughter, Emily. He wore the same old jacket every day. His hands rough from long hours at the factory and late-night shifts as a cleaner, Daniel believed no one noticed him. But he was wrong, high above the streets. In a glass tower that belonged to one of the largest corporations on Earth, someone was watching him. She was not human. She was an alien CEO from a faraway world, a being who controlled fleets, planets, and markets across the stars. On Earth, she wore a perfect human disguise, walking among people unnoticed. She had come not for business, but for him, this fragile, struggling human father. Her name was Ziara, and for weeks she had followed Daniel in secret. She did not understand why a man with so little strength, with no power, no money, no weapons, continued to fight every single day. On her homeworld, weakness meant death. Power ruled everything. But Daniel, weak by every measure, still pushed forward. She wanted to see how far his endurance would go before it broke. The first night of shadows that night, Daniel left his factory shift at midnight. His clothes were soaked in sweat, his body aching. But instead of going home, he stopped at a bakery. He bought one small loaf of bread, the only thing his money could afford, and carried it carefully in his hands. Ziara followed silently, her alien senses sharp. She watched him enter his small apartment, where Emily, just 6 years old, waited for him with hungry eyes. Daniel broke the bread in half. It gave her the bigger piece. He smiled, even though he was starving. Ziara felt something she did not expect. Confusion. Pain. Almost. Guilt. But before she could think longer, the night shattered. The fire the factory Daniel worked in the next evening erupted in sudden chaos. An explosion shook the building, flames leaping high into the sky. Workers screamed as fire spread through the corridors. Alarms wailed. Sprinklers broke. Smoke filled the air. Ziara stood in the shadows outside, ready to retreat, ready to let humans handle their own disaster. But then she saw him. Daniel didn't run. He charged back into the burning factory. His lungs filled with smoke, his arms burned from the heat, but he carried one coworker out, then another, again and again, until his legs buckled. No alien warrior she had ever seen showed that kind of madness, or that kind of courage. Just when he collapsed against the flames, Ziara moved. For a split second, she dropped her disguise and unleashed alien power, bending metal beams aside and pushing flames away so Daniel could stumble out alive. He never saw her face, only a shadow in the smoke. But she saw his. A man broken, yet unbroken. And she began to feel something dangerous. Respect. The bomb the very next night. The city shook again. A bomb exploded near the subway station where Daniel passed on his way to work. Glass shattered. Concrete split. Fire poured upward as people screamed. This was no accident. Ziara knew instantly it was the work of alien extremists. Enemies from her galaxy who had come to Earth. They hated humans and wanted to prove Earth was weak. Daniel was caught in the middle of the attack. He shielded Emily with his own body as fire and debris rained down. Ziara rushed forward, using her powers again, this time too openly. Daniel caught a glimpse. Her human mask flickered, and for an instant, he saw her true alien form. But instead of fear, he looked at her with shock and then trust. He grabbed her hand and pulled her through falling rubble, as if protecting her instead of the other way around. That moment unsettled Ziara more than any weapon could. The hidden war after the bomb attack. Daniel demanded answers. Who was she? Why was she helping him? Ziara hesitated, torn between her mission and the strange bond forming between them. But the truth couldn't stay hidden. Alien extremists had begun their war on Earth. Secret battles broke out in alleys, rooftops, and hidden tunnels where humans saw only accidents and fires. Daniel was no longer an unnoticed worker. He had become a target. The extremists believed humans should never be allowed to rise. And Daniel, the stubborn father who kept surviving, was proof of human resilience. Killing him would send a message. Ziara had two choices: step aside and let her people destroy him, or protect him and betray her own kind. The chase the city turned into a battlefield. One night, while Daniel carried Emily home, alien assassins struck. Blades of plasma cut through walls. Drones fired bolts of light into the streets. Cars exploded, flames spread, and the ground shook. Daniel ran, clutching Emily, while Ziara unleashed her true form, tall, shining, with alien weapons glowing from her arms. She fought the assassins in the open, her cover finally gone. Humans screamed and ran as they saw the impossible. Daniel stopped running. Instead of fleeing, he grabbed a broken metal pipe and swung it at one of the alien attackers. Useless against such enemies, yet he fought anyway. His child behind him, his heart refusing to surrender. Ziara, bleeding and surrounded, felt something she had never felt in her long life of power and control fear. Not for herself, but for the human father and daughter she had once thought were nothing. The revelation after the battle, Ziara finally revealed herself to Daniel fully. She told him of the war, of the extremists, of why she had been following him. But what she didn't say, what she couldn't say, was the truth she had discovered. Daniel wasn't just inspiring. He was dangerous. His courage was the kind of spark that could ignite a war between humans and aliens, because others would follow his example. Her enemies wanted him dead not only because he resisted, but because he could lead, and she didn't know if she should protect him or destroy him first. The cliffhanger, the sky burned with light as alien warships descended over the city. Humans panicked, sirens wailed, jets scrambled to the sky. The war that had been hidden in shadows was now out in the open. Ziara stood beside Daniel and Emily on a ruined rooftop. Smoke and fire rose around them. She had the power to end the war with one call to her fleets, but that would also mean enslaving humanity. Daniel, coughing from dust, turned to her with desperate eyes. "Tell me the truth. Are you with us or against us?" Ziara looked at him, her heart torn in two. Behind her, the alien ships prepared to strike. Ahead of her, Daniel's fragile daughter clutched his hand, her wide eyes staring in fear. One choice, one moment, two worlds hanging in balance, and the story ended there on the edge of war. With trust and betrayal only one heartbeat away. The city was alive with noise horns, shouting, the endless hum of machines. But inside this chaos, one man walked quietly through the crowded streets. His name was Daniel, a father who carried the weight of two lives on his shoulders. By day he cleaned tall office buildings, his hands red and swollen from chemicals. By night he drove trucks across the city, his eyes heavy with exhaustion. He lived only for his little daughter, Emily, who waited at home with wide eyes and an empty stomach. Daniel thought no one noticed him, but he was wrong. Far above, inside a skyscraper of shining glass, someone was watching. She was not human. She was Ziara, an alien CEO who ruled a business empire across the stars. She wore a perfect disguise, blending into human society. But her true mission was hidden. She had come to Earth to watch humanity up close. And of all the humans she could have chosen, she followed him, this broken father who worked until his body gave out. She wanted to see why humans fought so hard for survival when everything around them screamed failure. The father's struggle. Daniel's life was a circle of suffering. He left home at dawn, returned at night, and collapsed on a broken couch. Emily, only 6 years old, would curl against him, asking for bedtime stories even when he could barely keep his eyes open. Sometimes he skipped meals, just so she could eat. Ziara shadowed him everywhere, invisible in the crowds. She expected him to give up, but instead, she saw him teach Emily to smile even through hunger. He carried her on his shoulders on weekends, whispering dreams of a better future. It confused Ziara. On her homeworld, no one wasted energy on dreams. Only power mattered. But this fragile human father believed in something more. The subway bomb one evening. Daniel took a night shift near the subway station. Emily waited at home, drawing stars on scraps of paper, waiting for his return. Ziara followed him, curious as always. But as Daniel entered the underground tunnels, her alien senses flared with alarm. Something unnatural pulsed in the air. She realized too late there was a bomb. The explosion ripped through the subway with a roar. Concrete shattered, steel twisted. Fire and smoke filled the air. People screamed and fell as the station collapsed. Daniel was thrown across the floor, blood on his forehead, ears ringing from the blast, and yet his first thought was not for himself. He crawled through the burning wreckage, pulling strangers from under collapsed beams. He dragged a child out of the fire, coughing so hard he could barely breathe. Ziara stood frozen. She had seen warriors die on battlefields without such courage. Something inside her chest ached. Finally, when falling, debris threatened to crush him, she acted. She tore off her human mask for a moment, using alien strength to push beams aside and shield him from fire. Her disguise flickered, and for a heartbeat, Daniel saw her true foreman, alien, shining with strange light. But instead of fear, he looked at her with shock and trust. The aftermath of the city called it a terrorist attack. Humans searched for answers, never knowing aliens were behind it. But Ziara knew the truth. The bomb was planted by alien mercenary scouts of a greater army. They wanted Earth to burn. Daniel survived, though his body ached from wounds. Ziara stayed close, unseen, watching him limp home to Emily. She heard him promise his daughter that he would protect her no matter what. Ziara felt something she had never felt before. Was she here to observe? Or to protect? The revelation days later, Daniel noticed the strange woman who always seemed nearby. He confronted her in an alley. "Who are you? Why do you keep following me?" Ziara hesitated. She wanted to lie, but the truth pressed against her like fire. "I am not from here," she whispered. "I came to watch, but now I see. Someone is hunting you." Daniel laughed bitterly. "Hunting me? I'm nobody. Just a man trying to keep my daughter alive." But Ziara knew better. The mercenaries were not random. They had marked him specifically. The chase begins one night. Daniel was walking Emily home when the mercenaries struck. Alien assassins stepped out of shadows, their weapons glowing with unnatural light. Drones hovered above, firing bolts that lit the street on fire. Daniel grabbed his daughter and ran, but he was no soldier. A blast threw him against a wall. Just as one assassin raised a blade to finish him, Ziara arrived. She dropped her disguise completely. Her alien form towered in the night, armored skin gleaming, weapons of light shining from her arms. She fought with deadly speed, tearing through drones and striking assassins down. Humans on the street screamed and ran as the impossible battle unfolded before their eyes. Daniel, leading, looked up at her in awe. His daughter clung to him, whispering, "She saved us, Daddy." The truth of the war after the battle, Ziara could no longer hide. She revealed everything. She told Daniel that Earth was in danger, that alien forces wanted to claim it, and that the subway bomb was only the beginning. But she left out one detail. The mercenaries weren't just targeting Earth, they were targeting Daniel himself. He demanded to know why. But Ziara said nothing. How could she tell him the truth? That his blood carried something ancient, something alien, a genetic key that could turn the war in either direction. If he knew, his world would shatter. The escalation, the attacks grew worse. Bombings shook different parts of the city. Highways exploded in fire. Office towers collapsed after drone strikes. Humans thought it was terrorism, but in truth, it was war, an alien war being fought in secret. And wherever Daniel went, destruction followed. The mercenaries hunted him like prey. Ziara fought them in every shadow. But each battle revealed her more and more to humanity. Soon, the government began to notice strange sightings. Soldiers whispered about a monster fighting terrorists in the dark. Daniel and Emily were forced into hiding, running from both alien killers and human authorities. The rooftop battle one night, they were cornered on a rooftop. Dozens of drones swarmed, their weapons glowing red. Alien mercenaries advanced, blades ready to strike. Daniel clutched Emily, prepared to die. But instead of fleeing, he picked up a fallen alien rifle. He didn't know how to use it, but he pointed it at the enemy anyway. Shielding his daughter with his body, Ziara stood beside him, her wounds deep, her strength fading. Yet when she saw him raise that weapon with trembling hands, something inside her changed. He was not a soldier, not a leader, not powerful. But his courage was something even her kind feared. Together, they fought. The rooftop became a storm of fire and smoke. Explosions lit the night sky. And for the first time, Daniel realized he wasn't just a victim. He was part of a war. The arrival of the battle ended with the rooftop in ruins. Daniel collapsed, clutching Emily. Ziara dragged them to safety. But before they could breathe, the sky itself changed. Clouds split apart. A massive alien flagship descended through the atmosphere, its size so huge it blocked the stars. Cities below screamed in panic. Sirens wailed. The invasion had begun. Ziara stared at the warship with dread. Her enemies had come in full force, and she knew the truth. They wanted Daniel alive. The cliffhanger on a ruined rooftop. Under the shadow of the alien warship, Daniel turned to her. His face was pale, his daughter trembling in his arms. "Tell me," he said, his voice breaking, "are you with us or with them?" Ziara stood frozen. She was a leader of her people, bound by duty. But her heart told her another truth. This man, this weak and stubborn human, has shown her more strength than any army. Behind them, alien troops began to descend from the flagship. Ahead of them, human jets rose to meet the threat. The war was about to begin, and Ziara knew she had only one choice left. The world was busy, always moving. Skyscrapers pierced the clouds, neon lights painted the streets, and humans rushed through life with no time to breathe. Among them walked Daniel, a single father who worked double shifts every day. His life was not glamorous. His clothes were worn, his hands rough, his eyes always tired. By day, he carried heavy loads at a warehouse. By night, he mopped the floors of endless office buildings. Every coin he earned went to his young son Alex, who waited for him each night with a smile that made the exhaustion worth it. Daniel thought he was invisible, just another struggling man. But in truth, he was being followed. Her name was Ziara. She was not human. She was an alien CEO, commander of fleets, ruler of planets, and leader of a vast corporation that stretched across galaxies. She wore a flawless disguise, passing as human while she lived among them. Her secret mission was to study Earth before her people made their move. She was here to find weaknesses. To learn if humans were worth controlling, she had expected to find greed, laziness, and failure. But instead, she found Daniel. The Shadow Watches. Every day she followed him. She saw him give up his own meals so Alex could eat. She watched him drag his body through rain and sickness. It still whispered bedtime stories to his son about stars and heroes. On her world, such weakness would be laughed at. Yet this weakness carried a strange kind of power. Ziara told herself she was only observing, nothing more. But deep down, she was beginning to feel something dangerous: admiration. The explosion one night. While Daniel worked late at the warehouse, disaster struck. A sudden explosion ripped through the building, flames tearing the night sky apart. Workers screamed as fire spread. Smoke choked the air. Walls collapsed. Alarms blared. Daniel didn't think about himself. He ran into the flames, dragging one coworker out, then another. His arms bled, his body burned, but still he went back for more. Ziara stood hidden, torn. She was supposed to watch, not interfere. But when the roof gave way and Daniel was about to be crushed, she acted. She unleashed her alien power, holding the burning beams back long enough for him to escape. Daniel never saw her face, only a shadow in the fire. But she saw his eyes that refused to surrender. The hidden truth, the explosion, was not an accident. Ziara soon discovered the truth. Alien extremists were already on Earth. They wanted to soften the planet with chaos before the invasion began. And worse, they were searching for something. or someone her suspicions grew. Why did every attack seem to follow Daniel? Why did her enemies keep circling closer to him and his son? When she checked deeper, she uncovered a terrifying secret. Daniel's bloodline was not fully human. Centuries ago, when aliens first touched Earth, they left traces behind. Daniel carried that genetic legacy inside him, and now the extremists wanted it. His blood could unlock ancient technology that might tip the balance of the coming war. Suddenly, Daniel was not just a man, he was a target. The first attack, the extremists made their move. One evening, as Daniel walked Alex home, the night split apart, with shrieking drones and glowing alien weapons. Beams of energy sliced through cars, fires spread down the street. Humans screamed in panic. Daniel grabbed his son and ran, but the assassins closed in. Just when he was cornered, Ziara appeared in her true form for the first time. Her human disguise melted away, revealing her tall alien body, her armor glowing, her weapons alive with light. She fought the attackers with fury, cutting drones from the sky, striking assassins down with speed that no human could see. Daniel froze. He wanted to be afraid, but instead, all he felt was awe. His son whispered, "Daddy, she's one of them." But she wasn't their enemy. She was saving them. The war in the shadows. After the battle, Ziara confessed the truth. She told Daniel that war was coming, that Earth was no longer safe, and that his bloodline was the reason her enemies wanted him dead. Daniel could not believe it. He was just a man, just a father. But Ziara's enemies knew the truth, and they would never stop hunting him. Soon, the city itself became a war zone. Explosions shook highways. Bombs tore through towers. Humans thought it was terrorism, but in truth, aliens were fighting battles in the shadows. Daniel and Alex were forced into hiding, moving from one broken street to another. And always, Ziara was near, protecting them. The government learned it didn't take long before humans noticed the strange battles. Soldiers reported sightings of monsters fighting in the dark. Cameras caught glimpses of Ziara's true form. Panic spread through the city. The government began hunting her, believing she was the threat. Now Daniel was trapped between two enemies, the aliens, who wanted him captured, and the humans who believed he was helping them. Ziara wanted to keep running, but Daniel refused. "If this war is coming," he told her, "I won't hide. I'll fight." The rooftop battle, their worst night, came when the extremists cornered them on a skyscraper rooftop. Dozens of drones filled the sky, red lights glowing. Mercenaries advanced with alien blades. Daniel clutched Alex, prepared for death. But when he saw a fallen alien weapon on the ground, he picked it up. He didn't understand it, but he held it anyway. Standing between the enemies and his son Ziara, wounded and bleeding, looked at him in shock. He was not strong. He was not trained. But in that moment, he was unbreakable. Together, they fought. Explosions lit the night. The rooftop burned. And for the first time, Daniel realized he was more than a survivor. He was part of the war. The sky burns, the battle ended in ruin. The rooftop collapsed, the city below in flames. Ziara barely dragged them to safety. But before they could rest, the sky itself changed. Clouds split apart. Alien warships descended from the stars, massive and terrifying, their shadows covering the earth. Sirens wailed, jets scrambled, people screamed. The war that had been hidden was now open. Ziara stared in dread. Her people had come, and Daniel realized the truth. He and his son were not just bystanders anymore. They were the key. The cliffhanger on a ruined street, fires burning around them. Daniel looked at Ziara. His son clung to him, his small hands shaking. "Tell me the truth," Daniel whispered. "Are you here to save us, or to deliver us to them?" Ziara stood frozen, her heart divided. She was sworn to her people, to her empire. But she had seen the courage of one fragile human, a father who gave everything for his child. And now, the choice was hers. Behind them, alien warships prepared to strike. Ahead of them, human soldiers raised their weapons. The first battle of a war between worlds was about to begin. Ziara closed her eyes, torn between two paths. One choice would save humanity. The other would destroy it, and the story ended there, on the razor's edge between survival and extinction.